Okay, while the aft end of your fin assembly is curing or setting up, it's time to install the forward centering ring. Install your eye bolt. You should have a nut and a washer. Insert the eye bolt. On the other side, you should have a nut and a washer, and turn it on. I believe these come with a nylon locking nut, so you might have to get a pair of pliers to finish turning it on. And you probably hold this end with a screwdriver also, like this. Stop it from turning on you. Just snug it up as tight as you can. If it doesn't come with a nylon locking nut, after you put on the assembly of the nuts and the washers, we're going to apply a little epoxy to the nut and the threads once we install this onto the motor tube. So we're going to apply some epoxy to the end of the motor tube. What I've already done I've referenced the spot where the forward motor mount ring is going to go, approximately a 1/4 inch recess below the motor tube. So what I would do is put this forward centering ring on. Apply epoxy to the reference line you made, a 1/4 inch. Just put the epoxy just below the reference line, 1/4 inch. Go all the way around the tube. Take your forward motor mount ring, push it up, and you could probably twist it, turn it, and stop at that 1/4 inch mark. And line it up with the line you made. And it should create a good fillet around the top of that motor tube and the motor mount ring. And lay it on its side. Like I said before, gravity wins on the epoxy. Parts will move, so I want you to check that every 30 seconds, make sure it's lined up, and it should be set up in about 2.5 minutes. Before the epoxy sets up on your forward motor mount ring, make sure this eye bolt is not lined up in the center between the fins, because we're going to be putting a rail button in there, and we're going to be putting a wood screw probably in there, so it does not hit the eye bolt. So kind of offset this eye bolt to the center between the fins. Okay, besides lining up the eye bolt, we'll have to put the eye bolt straight up and down as shown in this video right now. So it's facing the motor tube, because we have to put a quick link on there, so it'll be better access to reach your hand in there to hook the quick link. Like I said earlier, the level 1 construction is the same as the level 2, only level 2 is a little larger, as you can see. I've applied epoxy between the fin tab and the motor tube, and I actually put fiberglass, 2-ounce fiberglass in between for added strength, and added fillets to the forward part of the mid ring, and add a little thicker fillet to the forward motor mount ring, and of course the bigger rocket comes with a U-bolt. Okay, on this particular build and your model and your level 1 rocket, we are going to cut the slots open on the fins. Makes a real easy build, because this way your fins are already lined up because of the fin slots on the motor ring mounts. So what we're going to do is, on the level 1 tube, we're going to cut the slots open. I've already referenced some lines right here just to keep it straight, and all you're going to do is just slice it with a knife like this on both sides of the slots, make it as straight as possible as you can. Or you can use your Dremel or a saw. Don't forget to put your PPE stuff on, and I just slice it like this from the aft end in. Got a nice slot, doesn't have to be straight and perfect. Same thing. Make small slices like that. You come from the other side, just Slice it out like that. Same thing on the other side. You got a nice slot. The tube may feel a little weak, but it's not once you apply epoxy. When we're all done mounting the fin can inside, it'll be nice and sturdy. And here you have the slots all open. Okay, before you apply the epoxy inside the airframe to mount your motor mount tube and your fin can, get your quick link and your recovery strap and install your recovery strap onto the quick link. Take your quick link and install it onto your eye bolt of the forward motor mount ring, just like so. And I'd leave a good 10 to 12 inch slack like this, and let's make a 10-12 inch loops like this. Take some masking tape. And put it right in the center of the loop like this. Take the rest of your harness and stuff it inside the motor tube, so it's out of the way once we install it inside the airframe, so epoxy does not get on the recovery strap. Perfect, just like that. Okay, once your motor tube and fin can is cured, I want you to take your motor tube and fin can and line it up with your airframe. Mark about 1/4 inch below the forward motor mount ring. You can use this for a reference because we're going to use a little gauge stick here. I'd recommend something long like a dowel. I'd say this is about 18 inches long, and I have a craft stick taped to it because we're going to apply some epoxy to this craft stick. Do not use the end of the dowel because the dowel does not actually capture enough epoxy to apply it to your rocket. Craft stick does act like a spoon. So what I want you to do is reference that mark you made on the airframe to the end of the aft airframe and mark your dowel right there so you know how far to go in. So once you apply epoxy, you're going to do a circular motion all the way around the airframe inside. So we're going to apply some epoxy to it, scoop it. It's best to be sitting down doing this, and stop at the reference mark on your dowel that you've made and apply it to the bottom of the airframe and kind of spread it inside there. Pull it back out again, apply some more epoxy, scoop it, rotate your airframe and apply more epoxy to the bottom of the airframe. Keep doing that till you meet the other end that you have applied epoxy to all the way around. Be quite generous with the epoxy. Once you've established enough epoxy inside the airframe, quickly take your motor mount and fin can and insert it inside the airframe, making sure that the leading edge of the fins is past the slots of the airframe and is locked in, and it is inside the airframe as it was before when we did the pre-fit. And as you're pushing it in, the epoxy will ooze to form a nice fillet around that motor mount centering ring, and keep your rocket up like that once you have it in there, and make sure it's at that same position, that it doesn't slide back down. So we want to make sure that epoxy cures once it's inside. Once everything is cured on your fins and you're satisfied, install your motor tube and fin can inside. This might be a little difficult part, but you need a couple people perhaps to help you do this. What you got to do is have another person on this side with your screwdriver. Line up your fins on your slots. Take a screwdriver on this side, line it up. Have your partner help you. Of course, this is the first time I'm doing this though. Once you establish your first get that mid-motor mount ring past it, the rest should be pretty simple. Takes a little time. Take your time. Just go right in. And push it down until the leading edge of the fins stop in the slot. This is how far your motor tube should be inside your airframe. Perfect.